Okay, hello, my friend. Hopefully you are doing great. So sorry for the background noise around if you hear anything. Hopefully you can still hear my voice clearly. So in this tutorial, I'm gonna show you the very first lesson related to object-oriented programming. That is class in Java. So what is class? Class is actually a template. We can call it as a blueprint to build an object. That means an instance. So for example, you have a cat robot here and you have a template for the cat robot and you are so excited to build a real cat robot based on this blueprint. That means you try to draw something on the template and you want to build a real robot cat based on this blueprint. Okay, so that means we have a class in Java. So about the syntax, how to declare a class. So it should be start with the access modifier. It's the public. It's not only public, but for class, let me try to delete this one. For class, we will see it's in public because you will know that it's, it doesn't make any sense if you create a class and you don't share anywhere for people to use that class. So the public is a common access modifier. We will have a lesson about access modifier in details. So and then after that we have a class keyword here. It's always class. And finally we have a class name. So talk about class name related to the naming convention to KMO case. As I explained for you, we are not using snake case or anything else. We are using KMO case. So that means the first letter in class name should be uppercase and then uppercase here, you see. And inside we have a class body. Okay. So let's try to go back here. You create a new package and then you create a new class with the name robot cat. You enter. And you see IDE already supported to create a class automatically if you just provide the name robot cat here and just tell again this is access modifier. The class is always class here and this is the class name. Okay. So what's in it? Now the story begins. So you print your robot cat blueprint. That means the design to a constructor to who know how to build the robot cat based on a blueprint. Okay, and you say that can you help me to create a robot cat based on this template? And the constructor say that yeah, let me do it. So how can we do it? So we build a robot cat with this name robot cat, you see, and this is the data type of the robot cat should be from robot cat. So you knew in the previous lesson we have the data type as a primitive data type or something related to Java collection like list or map. We have the array list or hash map. And now if you have a class and you want to create an object based on that class template, that means the data type now it should be come from the class name. Okay, and this is actually a variable to hold the object you create, and this the whole thing here you can consider as a constructor. So the constructor will start with the keyword new here, and then we call exactly the class name here with double curly bracket here. So that means we are calling a constructor to build an object for our robots class. So just go back to our IDE and how can we do this? So for example, you create a new class to test robot class, okay? And in this test class, we create a main method like before, and you type robot cat here, and you control space. The IDE will success for you a name, and this is the test name. Okay, it's a test name, robot cat. Okay, so as a variable, it should not start with an uppercase. Okay, just normal case. And then equal, we call the constructor. We will tell about constructors in detail later, but now you use the new keyword here, and you see this is class name and double curly bracket here and the semicolon here. That means you have just created an object for robot cat based on the robot cat's blueprint here. Okay, so let's continue. And then you tell the constructor that, hey, can my cat run? And yes, we will create some methods. So why do we need methods? Methods are, sometimes you call it is a function. So a method, we implement object behavior. That means a cat should be run, and running is a behavior. So how can we have the behavior? That means we need methods. And why do we need methods? Methods to implement object behavior. For example, we will create a method with the access modifier public. And this is the return type, okay? Return type. So in this case, void, that means we return nothing. And if we have string, that means we need to return a string at the end of the function, of the method. So in this case, for the method run, I'm not going to return anything. Okay, I'm just running. So we can simply print out something like the cat is running. And I want to return the cat name, so I will create a method with the name cat name here, and I return Doraemon. Okay, so let's try to go back here, and we will create methods to implement object behavior. So we have the access modifier as public, and we have the return type is void. That means we return nothing in this case, and the method's name is run, and we use double curly bracket here and body inside. So we will print out something very simple. The cat is running. Okay, and if we want to create a method that returns something, so access modifier again, and the return type here is string, and for example the cat name. So we will use the keyword return to return something, and in this case, regardless what you return, that should be as a string. Okay, so in this case, I will return simply like something like Doraemon. I'm not sure this name is correct or not, but I mean the Japanese Doraemon is very famous, right? And how can we use those methods? So you need to pay attention. That's very important. When you create an object from a class template, that means the object itself will have these methods inside the template, right? Because you base on the template to decide an object. So that means by default, that object will have the methods inside. So how can we access? For example, I will use robot cat here, and I use the dot notation, you see, and we can call the run methods here. So let's try to run this program. And you will see we have the cat is running, okay? And if I want to get the cat name, that means I will need a string as a variable like the cat name here to hold the value from robotcat.cat name here. That means this function will return for me a string as the cat name Doraemon, and then I will print down cat name, and then you will see the result. So the cat is running and its name is Doraemon. So you already knew right now we have the method inside. Okay, the method inside the class and how to create a method. The purpose of methods, that is to implement object behavior. Okay. So now you ask again, hey, cool. So I want to have ID and produce date. That means I want to, a lot of classes, and I want to distinguish between them based on the ID and the date. So how can we do that? So that means we have an attribute value. Okay, attribute, we call it attribute value. And you see the access modifier as a best practice, the attribute value should be in private. That means should be accessible inside this class scope. We will learn about encapsulation, and I will tell you in detail about the private access modifier. But right now, you just to remember that a class, we have an attribute. Okay, attribute here. So in this case, an attribute has an access modifier as private. The type is string or integer or something like that. In this case, we have the ID, and then we have to produce date here as string. So let's try to go back to our robot cat here, and I will put something as private. String ID private string like days, for example. Okay, so that means we have attributes. And then you will ask another question, that's so I have attributes, so how can I set those values? So that means we will use setter. Okay, we use setter to set the value inside those attributes to manage the state of an object. For example, I will create two setter, so it should be public, void set ID. So because you are going to set ID, so this does mean you need to input some parameter from outside. So that means you have a string here, ID, you input inside. Okay, ID, and then you set this dot ID equal ID. So the this keyword here to distinguish, that means this ID is will refer to the attribute here. If you put something like ID equal ID, we cannot distinguish which ID is the ID from the attribute. That's why we need the this keyword. Okay, this refers to the instance where you created an object based on this class. Okay, so this ID equal ID, that means when you set the ID value, it will set back to this attribute. And then you do the same thing, void set date, and then you provide string date, then this dot date equal to date you provide. Okay, this is the way. So you can see as a setter, best practice is always start with the set here. The set here as a setter. That means you can name other name, but as a best convention, you need to do something like that. For example, if you want to generate from IDE, you can right click here and then you generate. And then you can choose setter here. You choose all of the attribute inside and then you click OK. So you have the same thing here, right? The same thing here. So that means you have the DAO value. So you can ask the next question, that's how can you get DAO value out? Because if you set and you cannot get, it doesn't make any sense. So in this context, we will use getter, and the getter is the same as setter, but the different thing that we will return the value. So here we set the value and getter will return the value. So you right click here and then you see the rest getter. You can type yourself manually, but I want to share you how to do it quickly. So you see here, guest ID will return ID. And in this case, it can refer this ID because there's nothing confusion here like this contact. Okay, so we can return ID or return this ID will be the same. Okay, so we can return this dates will be the same. So we have setter, getter, and setter, getter. Actually, they all are methods, like the methods run or the methods cat name here. They all are methods, and we use methods to implement we use methods here to implement object behavior, or we use some special methods like getter or setter to get or set the states of attribute. Okay, so if I go back to the test robot cat here and I will do something here now, we use robot cat dot set ID and I provide something 111 and then I will set day equal new day and then I call to string to get the string out. Then I will have I will string, I keep the string as a robot cat ID equal robot cat and now I use getter to get the ID. I do the same thing to get the robot cat date. So it should be get date here, you see. So this is I use getter to set the value to attribute and then I use getter to get the value from the object. So if I print out sort robot ID and the robot states, I will get 111 and the date right now. So run the program and then you see the result. So we get the ID and the time right now. Okay, so that is the basic about the class, and let's try to summarize some basic things you need to remember. So what is class? Class is a template or blueprint to create an object or an instance of that object. Okay, and we have attribute. What's the attribute? Attribute is here. And as an attribute, we put it as private, as set modifier, and string. This is the type. You can put something like integer or something, anything. Okay, it's up to you. And the name. Okay, so that's it, the attribute. So the attribute is to keep the object state. So that means we can have many states. For example, if you go back to the test robot class here and then now you set robot cat.set ID and now I want to change the ID state to 222. That means I use the setter to change the attribute state right now. Okay, so you see that is the purpose. So and we have the methods. So the method's purpose is to implement the object's behavior. So the cat can run, the cat can jump, and the cat can have attributes, something like color, something like that. But in this case, we have a robot cat, so we didn't tell about something like the color, something. Instead, we talked about something related to, the ID or the day, that's something like that, because they are robot. So, and you need to remember we have a setter and getter. So setter and getter, they all are methods, but they are special for just only purpose. For example, setter will try to set the state ID, state value for attribute, and getter will get the current state for, the attribute. Okay. So try to practice yourself and see you in the next tutorial.